Today, we're going to discuss about the percentage composition. What is this percentage composition? Percentage composition is the relative amount of an element in a certain compound. We can determine this percentage composition of a compound using this formula. Percent of an element is equal to mass of an element in a compound divided by molar mass of a compound times 100. Materials needed. We need to have periodic table because we're going to look at on the periodic table the mass of a certain element in a compound. Also, we need to have scientific calculator because we're going to compute the percentage composition of each element in a compound. In computing the percentage composition, we need to know the following data. First, we need to know the element present in the compound. Number 2, we need to know the atomic mass of the certain element. Number 3, we need to know the molar mass of the compound. Example: are you a kind of person who are a fan of drinking coffee or coffee is life? Example: we have an instant coffee and it is consists of coffee, sugar, and milk. One sachet of coffee has 10 grams of coffee, 13 grams of sugar, 12 grams of milk, and let sum of the three ingredients will be 35 grams of 3-in-1 coffee. Now, the process is 10 grams of coffee divided by 35 grams of 3-in-1 coffee is equal to 0.285714 and so on times 100. So therefore, the answer is 28.57%. Next, let's compute the percentage composition of sugar. 13 grams of sugar divided by 35 grams of 3-in-1 coffee is equal to 0.371428 and so on times 100 is equal to 37.14. Now, let's solve for the milk. 12 grams of milk divided by 35 grams of 3-in-1 coffee is equal to 0.342857 and so on times 100. The answer is 34.29%. So you need to round off your answer into the nearest hundreds. Now, you need to add or sum up all the product of the different kinds of ingredients. So you need to add 28.57% plus 37.14% plus 34.29%. So the total of 100%. In a laboratory, you may perform experiments that will require you to prepare solution or to verify the purity of some substances. Thus, you need to know how to calculate the percent composition of a compound. Now, let us proceed with another example. Let's have an example. Let's have this ethanol. Ethanol is an alcohol obtained by fermenting sugar from grapes, corn, and other fruits and grains, and it has a chemical formula of C2H6 and O. This ethanol is mostly used or often added to the gasoline as an octane enhancer to produce or form a fuel or what we call gasohol. Now, let us compute the percentage composition of an ethanol. Take note, in an ethanol chemical formula, we have 2 atoms or 2 moles of a carbon atom, 6 moles of hydrogen atom, and 1 mole of oxygen atom. Now, let us calculate the percentage composition of an ethanol. C2H6O. Step 1. Determine the molar mass. So we need to know the atomic mass of a carbon that is being found in our periodic table. So, the atomic mass of carbon is 12.01 grams per mole times 2 mole, which is 2 mole is found in our chemical formula, is equal to 24.02 grams per mole. Next, the atomic mass of hydrogen is equal to 1.008 grams per mole times 6 mole is equal to 6.048 grams per mole. Next, atomic mass of oxygen is 16.0 grams per mole times 1 mole is equal to 16.00 grams per mole. Now, step 2. Add all the product. So, 24.02 grams per mole plus 6.048 grams per mole plus 16.00 grams per mole, a total of 46.068 grams per mole. You need to round off your answer to the nearest hundreds. Therefore, the molar mass of an ethanol is 46.07 grams per mole. Step 3. Determine the mass percent. So now, using the formula of the percentage composition, which is percent of an element is equal to the mass of an element in a compound divided by the mass of a compound times 100. So now, let's start from carbon. Percent mass of a carbon is equal to the mass of the carbon in ethanol divided by mass of 1 mole of ethanol times 100. So therefore, we need to substitute the value of the mass of the carbon in an ethanol. So therefore, as what we have solved a while ago, the mass of a carbon is 24.02 grams divided by 46.07 grams is equal to 0.521380 and so on times 100 is equal to 52.14%. Round off your answer to the nearest hundreds. Now, the same process as what we have done in a carbon. Now, percent mass of an hydrogen is equal to the mass of hydrogen in a ethanol divided by the mass of 1 mole of ethanol times 100. Substitute the value of our hydrogen, which is 6.048 grams divided by 46.07 grams is equal to 0.131364 and so on times 100. So the answer is 13.14% of hydrogen. Next, the same process as what we have done from hydrogen and carbon, let's identify the mass percent of an oxygen. So percent mass of an oxygen is equal to the mass of oxygen in an ethanol divided by mass of 1 mole of ethanol times 100. Is substitute, so therefore, mass of an oxygen is 16.00 grams divided by 46.07 grams is equal to 0.347297 and so on times 100. The answer is 34.73%. Now, you are going to sum up all the product. So you need to add 52.14% plus 13.14% and 34.73%. So the answer is 100%. Now, reminder, the mass percent of all the elements in a compound add up to 100%, although rounding off effects may produce small deviation. Adding up the percentage is a good way to check the calculation or your answer. Now, let us look at the mass percent of an ethanol in a pie graph. To sum it up, Percent composition is used to find the percentage of an element in a compound. You must know the molar mass of an element and the compound in order to get the percent composition. In chemistry, percent composition is important to analyze and to determine the empirical formula of a chemical substance. Thank you.